can also listen online at WPVMFM.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. And guys, if you want to wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world, you're now on, and I think we are on Facebook, which is pretty good. You're looking good. Each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene, as well as on positive news and information about people and organizations in the Asheville area. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first two guests, and they are Dave Bates and Tasha Pepi. And welcome aboard, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have to say that you're two of my favorite folks in the Asheville area, in that Dave Bates is a songwriter. He writes beautiful music. He's independently employed, and he's involved now in a show we'll be talking about called Seven Singers Singing. Tasha Pepi is an actor, and in her spare time, a realtor and a mother, and about 27 other things.
Sounds about right.
In your spare time, so thank you both for coming on board. Dave, as I indicated, is a pianist, songwriter, playwright, originally from Ohio. His academic training is in math. Boy, that's a shift. And he was a classroom teacher for many years.
It's not as much of a shift as you might think.
Okay.
Math and music go together.
Okay, anyway, so Dave, though, was a math teacher for a bunch of years, but music, especially music theater, has always been his primary interest. Left teaching to pursue that interest. He's taught several courses on Broadway theater at Ollie and at Montreat. Tasha has performed on most every stage, which is certainly true in the area from Parkway to Flat Rock. I've seen you probably in a bunch of things you've been in. She's next going to be in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum at Hendersonville Community Theater. And somehow you've managed to squeeze this other show in here to the Seven Singers Singing?
Yes.
Okay. So you have roller skates? Is that what you do to...
Yeah, I roller skate from show to show.
I was going rehearsal. And that must be a challenge, too. I know you've done it. So you're now doing, what, two shows kind of simultaneously? You're doing this show and then you're doing Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum?
Yes.
Have you ever done three?
Actually, during the summer, I did about 7 at once.
Oh, my goodness.
But they were all really short, overlapping. They were at the center. We have short rehearsal periods. But
Okay, but that must be a challenge.
it can be.
Dave, let's talk a little bit about then the Seven Singers Singing. And I know I was fortunate to see the first time you did this a bunch of years ago. What was the idea behind this?
Well, I'm a songwriter. As you said, I write primarily for musical theater. And any songwriter who writes for musical theater, you accumulate what are called trunk songs, songs that were written for a show and then either the show didn't materialize or it got restructured and the song was obsolete or something. And so over the years, I had a bunch of trunk songs and other songs that I just wrote without a show that they were in or something. And I thought it would be nice to give them a public airing. So I asked around, tried to find the singers, tried to find the venue, and that show evolved.
So the first time I saw the show was, what, about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yes, a little more than 5 or 6.
Okay,
but
and the question is, so those songs you've accumulated, have they ever been in other shows, or have you ever done a thing? Have you ever done a whole show too?
Oh, absolutely. In that show, yes, there were several songs that were from existing plays. The biggest difference with this version of Seven Singers Singing is I decided these are all going to be songs dedicated to this show. So I purposely did not include any of the songs that exist in other shows. And several of those shows have been produced.
I have an idea I want to share with you, and I'll share it with Tasha as well. And it has to do with the very first song you ever wrote. You know, do you remember the very first song you ever wrote?
I remember several of the first songs I ever wrote.
Yeah. When did you first write a song?
I started in high school.
Okay. Because the idea I have, Dave, and I want to do this, Tasha, sometime as a fundraiser, is that everybody would do their first performance. You know, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you about yours, but you started this in high school. Where was it ever performed, or was it ever played anywhere?
Yes. Some of the songs that I wrote in high school were performed.
But they probably don't have a tape of that or videotape of that?
No.
But wouldn't that be cool, though? So, forgetting Seven Singers Singing, next time we're going to have Dave Bates when he was in high school, you know, playing all his first stuff, you know. But at least, Tasha, do you remember your first role, Tasha?
My very first role, I was in the opera Hansel and Gretel, and I was about 5 years old.
So can you imagine that? So do they have a tape of that?
I have a tape of it. I do.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Mm-hmm.
But can you imagine for your kids, though, if we had mom singing, her first role when she was 5 years old, and you still remember it, though.
Yeah.
That's exciting. But can you imagine if we do it now as a fundraiser,
Hopefully, I've gotten a little better.
Well, and where was that performed?
That was at the Academy of Performing Arts on Cape Cod.
Okay. Now, when you were a kid, did you always know you wanted to be a performer?
That was pretty much all I did was perform community theater, professional theater.
And did
So,
you have-
yes.
And you had encouragement from your family?
Yeah, they supported me in doing it. Even through high school, I was doing that more than I was hanging out with high schoolers. So most of my friends were adults and community theater people.
And you were into music theater at the time, too?
I was, yes.
Okay, the same question, Dave, too. So when you were in high school as a kid, what got you into the music thing?
I was taking piano lessons, started piano lessons in second grade. Most of the things I played, well, there were the dippy little piano books you get, John Thompson and John Schwam and so on. The first song I ever played that I recognized, my piano teacher gave me a book, the title, which didn't make any sense to me. It was called The King and I. And being the precocious child I was, I immediately went to the library to find out who's this king we're talking about, and that opened up this whole new world to me. It was the song was Getting to Know You. And so at like 10 years old, like I said, it was the first song I ever saw music for that I recognized the song from elsewhere.
And so that kind of hooked you into musical theater?
Then I found out about King and I and other shows like My Fair Lady and South Pacific and all those. And yes, I grew up through my teen years fascinated with that.
Now, do you play other music as well? I mean, it's primarily musical theater, but
I consider myself a competent pianist. I can, if you said, can you give me a half hour of classical music, I can pull out some Beethoven and some Chopin. And I'm a church pianist, so I can do hymns and the choir music and so on.
Well, I was surprised when I saw you a couple of weeks ago. We saw you doing a I don't know what you call it. It's a church. It was a temple type service, and you were doing some of the music there too. And that was kind of fun, as well.
And I've written some piano pieces that have a more classical bent to them. But that's fun to do. But I feel like there are other people who can do that better. I think my forte is musical theater things.
So when folks come to Seven Singers Singing, and we'll talk a little bit about that, that's going to be, when is that coming up?
That is January 31st, February 1st, and February 2nd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And it's going to be where?
Magnetic Theater in the River Arts District.
And the good thing about it for Tasha, we still have plenty of time on that, right? We still have, that's another,
week and a half.
Another week and a half. I can't believe it. So you're going from there, not going from there. At the same time, you're also working for, to be in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum?
Yes.
Okay. So that'll be keeping you a little bit busy. Yeah, we're just going to try to get more in the camera. Perfect. I was going to suggest that too. And maybe a little bit more over. She's still blocked by the mic, but we'll work on that. It's not so much you might blocked by that screen. Dave, in terms of when people come to see this show, what are they going to see?
I'm going to rephrase your question. What are they going to hear?
Okay, thank you.
Because it's all music. There's close to 2 hours of music and singing. I will be playing piano. I'm the only musician, and of course there are a couple places where there's instrumental, but that's not what it's about. That's just very incidental music. It's all singing. We have a lot of the songs I've written lend themselves to a theatrical performance. And so I'm encouraging the singers to create a character, imagine the setting where they're in. They will, on many of the songs, have little props or costume pieces that suggest things. People who are familiar with the Magnetic Theater know that it's a fairly dark space. And so we are doing anything we can to bring a little bit of color and brightness to it.
One of the fantastic things I think people are in stock for, and we already bought our tickets, we'll see you Sunday when we miss the show. But I think what you put together also just, I think, a terrific cast. And talk a little bit about that process. First of all, in terms of putting together the cast, what did that entail?
A lot of headaches. Because, as we've established, good performers get busy with other things, and sometimes they get booked up 6 months in advance. And so trying to find people who have the time to devote to something like this, and then coordinating that with when can you find a venue that can accommodate the time. And I've never figured out what the good way to do that is. Do you get the venue first and hope that you can find the performers? Do you get the performers first and hope you can find the venue? I don't have a good system yet, and I've done it several times.
How'd you come up with these performers?
For this show, I didn't want to go the route of auditions. I'm just, people I've worked with, or ask around and say, who do you know that's good? And I've had several people who said, oh, you need to contact this person, that person, and so on. In the process of finding the 7 singers for the show, I contacted or tried to contact over 24 people. And some of them I never made contact with. Sometimes people don't return emails. Sometimes they were interested but unavailable for the times, and so it was a hassle.
And the 7 people you have this time, I think they're all new, or you have any repeat performers from the last show?
The only person who's repeating, the only one I had worked with before, is Richard Blue.
Okay, so he was in the last one.
He was in the last one, and we had done a show together prior to that.
Okay. And so aside from Tanya and Richard, can you mention the names of the other performers?
Absolutely. Mandy Bean. The interesting thing about Mandy, I'd never met her. The first time we got together to meet, we were discussing our histories. Well, I had served as musical director for several shows at North Buncombe High School. The first one I did there was in Oklahoma back in 2004. I found out that she graduated from North Buncombe High School in 2003 and had performed Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady. So we just missed working together way back 17 years ago.
Okay, but very talented Mandy Bean. It's going to be great.
Nana Hosmer.
Wow, big talent.
Big talent, yes. She, I've seen her on stage at ACT. She was in Spamalot. She was in Annie Get Your Gun. She also performs with an a cappella vocal group called Pastime, and I've known quite well and worked with several of the other people in Pastime. Alex Guazzo is a high school student. He has done a number of things at Hendersonville Community Theater, at Brevard Little Theater. I think he's been on the stage at Flat Rock Playhouse. Hannah Williams is a relative newcomer to the area. She's done some things up at Parkway Playhouse, and we were talking about Tasha's busy schedule. Well, last weekend and this weekend, Hannah is performing the role of Val in Chorus Line at a community theater over in Tennessee. So imagine doing 2 shows in different states. And then Matt Wade has professional experience. He's been in touring productions of Oklahoma and the Producers. He spent 2 years working as an entertainer on a Mississippi River boat, which I thought was a unique experience.
Okay.
I think that's all 7.
Now, Tasha, have you performed with any of these folks?
I have performed with all of those folks.
Oh, have you really?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like a homecoming.
It
though,
is. I
or something.
feel like I'm amongst friends.
She's the only one who knows everyone else.
Is that really? That's cool. Now, on any of the songs you'll be performing, do you do them all by yourself, or are you doing some in a group setting?
I have 3 songs that I sing by myself, and then I have some duets and a number with the women, and then lots of group numbers.
Now, had you sung any songs by Dave before, or had you known it?
I had not, no.
Okay, so that must be kind of exciting to discover
Yeah, when
somebody
he
new.
played his music for me, he basically, the first time we met, we got together and he let me get my pick of which songs I wanted
really?
to sing, which was nice. But they have a fun, like I always say, a Burt Bacharach feel, just like
They do, don't they?
upbeat and fun love songs.
Okay, it's going to be a lot of fun. Dave, let's see if we get lucky. I know you brought in a CD with some of the people singing, and we're going to see if we get lucky on this. So let's see if we can do this from a technical standpoint. We're going to put the CD on, and we'll see if we can get the music going and get lucky. I'm not hearing anything yet.
Workshops. And we both work at the same. We work.
That's not it. We'll try this. CD is on. Give me a second. That'll be it. I'm not hearing anything. Not lucky yet. I'll give it another try in a second, but we'll talk as we try to get music going. CD looks like it should be playing. That's CD 1, but it's not playing yet. So as we're waiting for the music to be playing, the music to cue up, let's talk a little bit about then the how do you go choosing each of the performers? You gave them a choice of what songs they wanted to sing?
I tried to. I feel that the show's going to work most successfully if they are singing the songs. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Great. This is what song? Do you know?
This is Tasha singing a song called "A Little Less Alone."
Okay. Great.
Not expecting bells to ring. I'm not expecting birds to sing. As long as someone's there to make my empty nights a little less alone. I don't need rainbows every day. I don't need violins to play. I only need someone who's there to make me feel a little less alone. Promise me no dizzying emotions, shooting stars or castles in the air. I've given up on all such crazy notions. I just need someone to be there. If it's not like the fantasy, I never said it had to be. I'm only asking not to have to face this world forever on my own. And as for you and me, together maybe we can help each other be a little less alone. A little less alone.
The amazing Tasha Pepi. Tasha, just one of the things that amazes me about you and other performers too is that so this song, now this is going to be a concert. Are you reading the music, singing, or you're singing without?
We're singing without music.
Which is just, I mean, I can't believe you can do this. You know, with knowing those and then form and then whatever you're doing. Also, we should mention too, quote, in your spare time, you also have another gig now on Sunday nights.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
That is at the Asheville Beauty Academy. It's a live pianist kind of karaoke event where bring your sheet music and sing along to show tunes.
Yeah, because that sounds like it's a lot of fun, isn't
Yeah,
it?
last Sunday was our first time, and we had great showings. And there was people who walked in off the street just to get a drink and ended up getting together with musical theater people and going up and singing Hamilton or something. And it was really cool to see people brought together by the music.
So I was fortunate to do that with Dave a couple of years ago at somebody's house. He was just playing music, and everybody started singing, and it was just a lot of fun. But I have to ask you, Dave, if you ever do that again, or Tasha, if I ever stop by on a Sunday, hopefully you'll do my favorite song is Tequila.
All right.
That's the one I did.
Yeah, we've heard your rendition of Tequila.
Were you there then? Or?
I was there.
Oh, that day. So I did an audition. I said, let me sing. And that's the one song I can sing. So if you let me sing that.
It's an instrumental.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Well, it's a hard one to memorize.
Well, that's it. That's why singing and performing. I give performers, Dave, so much credit. They can memorize, music. I won't say you have an advantage, but as the keyboardist, you're playing the piano, you're reading the music. Is that correct?
Sometimes.
But
Yeah.
but
If for this show, which has roughly 2 hours of music, if I had to play it without music, I could.
He's actually played every rehearsal without music in
Does
front
he
of him.
really?
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
And the biggest problem with that is if I have to transpose for someone. After 10 years of playing a song in the key of E flat, suddenly they say, can we do this in A? And, my brain and I guess my fingers more than anything want to go back to what they know. And so some of the songs I've really had to practice in the new key to get comfortable with them.
now in the rehearsals, have you been able to get all 7 singers at one time?
Not yet.
I was going to say, I can't imagine. Will you be able to have one dress rehearsal with all 7 there?
Yes.
Okay, I mean that was
Yes,
part
under
of,
pain of death, they will all be there.
that must be one of the biggest challenges to get everybody together with that schedule.
Yeah, and like I said, most of the rehearsing has taken place with individuals on their own with their own music, and it's worked out fairly well. With duets that people haven't worked together, and we finally do get together, and they sing through it perfectly the first time.
To your credit, I know this time around you're directing this also. Is that correct?
I am serving in lieu of a real director. Yes.
Well, talk about that process, because I know when you did this at NC Stage, did you also do the same thing, or did you have a director?
We just had me.
Because imagine, Tasha, that's pretty much a challenge. Can you imagine that the guy writes the music, plays the music, puts it all together?
Produces it, which is the aspect I'm least competent with.
Okay, but you're doing, I think, pretty great job on it, putting it together. And this is also, like you said, a new venue, and you did last time at NC Stage. And each venue, I guess, has a challenge. And even Tasha as a performer, that must be a challenge for you, too, in terms of, because have you performed at Magnetic yet?
I have, but not as a singer.
Okay, so that must be, it's a certain kind of, every place, I guess, a little bit different. As a performer, does that create a challenge for you?
It does in terms of how your voice is going to carry in the space and how much you need to project and how much you need to support yourself and where in your voice you're going to put the song.
I imagine that's especially true. Have you performed at Montford?
No.
Because to Mandy's credit, I know she does a lot of stuff there. And do an outdoor stage, I mean, that's really a challenge, So as we talk about challenges, we'll see if we get the second song up. We have a little bit of time. We have a second song coming up. Do you know who's singing this one? Or we'll be surprised.
I think it's Richard singing. The title is The Song We Fell in Love To.
Hopefully it'll come right up.
Okay, let's hope. Here we
Great.
go.
Okay, and this is Richard.
Richard Blue, The Song We Fell in Love To.
Every now and then I'll hear it unexpectedly, like a memory playing on the radio. And I'll recognize the song we fell in love to. that special song from many years ago. After all this time, it works the same old magic. It still stirs the same emotions deep inside. After all these years, the song we fell in love to, it still can leave me misty-eyed. I remember each note and every line as if I'd heard it just the day before. And the music transports me back in time, and suddenly I'm 21 once more. I don't really need to hear it on the radio, for I've noticed that whenever you are near, then the song we dreamed and danced to, the song we took a chance to, the song we fell in love to, is the only song I hear.
Well, if ever that was a song crying for a Broadway show, or it just sounds like such a has that been part of a show?
No, no. That's what I call an orphan song. I just wrote it. The idea was there. It has no other subtext, no other connection to other shows.
It's a cool song, isn't it? The how many songs have you written, ballpark?
Oh my gosh. I've written 7 full-length shows, each of which has between 15 and 20 songs in it. So that brings us well over 100 by that, and then probably another 50 or so, songs like that, orphan songs, and then lots and lots of songs that don't have lyrics yet, piano pieces.
You mentioned that you've done, all these shows. Have I seen any of them in the Asheville area?
You would be able to answer that better than I would be able to. Things I've done locally, way back in the 90s.
Before my time, yeah.
Yeah. I had 2 shows that were produced up at SART.
Okay, yeah.
One show that I wrote, one of my performers from the previous show, she was at that time the drama teacher at the Asheville School out in West Asheville, and one of the shows she got involved with and decided to do that with her students. It was called Kanzen and Jitoko. It's set in 7th century Japan.
I missed that one.
It's a lovely show. Of all the shows of mine that I've seen, it's far and away the best production with 6 high school kids. And yeah, it was.
Well, I'm saying, David, the challenge, I guess, or the thing I'd love to see the next time around, I'd love to see one of your shows again, from scratch. There are plenty of venues, as you know, we'll find the place. Mm-hmm. As we close, let me just ask you one final question. The show dates again are when?
January 31st, Friday evening, 7:30, and then Saturday, February 1st, again at 7:30. Sunday, February 2nd at 2:30 in the afternoon.
And folks can get information, tickets at what website?
themagnetictheater.com or .org, I forget which.
I think it is.
The easiest thing I have found is just go to Google and type in the Magnetic Theater Asheville, and it will take you to their website.
And Tasha, the question to ask you is 2 things. One is, at this show, or that funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, are your boys going to see the show?
They'll be at Forum, and I hope they can make this one too.
Okay. You get nervous when the boys are there?
I don't. I'm extra excited when they're there.
Okay, that's cool. And so Dave mentioned his show is going to be at Magnetic next weekend. Forum is going to be when and where?
That is at Hendersonville Community Theater, and it opens Valentine's Day. Valentine's
Day through, I think, end of February or something?
Yes, it closes the first weekend of March.
Great. And they can also see you Sunday nights. Are you doing that every week?
It's every week, yes. It's on Broadway at Asheville Beauty Academy.
And so can I go on the assumption, aside from having roller skates, you also don't sleep much?
I get what I can.
I mean, I can't believe this, you know, that you're doing all this stuff, and you do it very well, by the way. So
Thank you.
really look forward to seeing the show it'll be next Sunday, not this Sunday. Looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward to seeing you in form and a whole bunch of other things. Dave, you constantly amaze me with stuff you do, and it's going to be really exciting. So thanks for coming on board.
My pleasure.
Okay, and let me get also the CD before you leave
Okay.
town. And as you guys work your way out, I'll try to get the CD so you can work your way out. I'll get the CD. I'll give it to you in a second.
Thank you, Blaine.
Thanks, Tasha.
Thank you.
Never kiss me.
You want to keep it?
Dave, well, I can give it back to you. Can I hold on to it?
Yeah.
Okay,
You can
if
keep
I
it.
can figure out.
You can keep it.
Okay, thanks, Dave. We keep hearing music. I don't want to hear the music anymore, but that will bring that down. As our next guests come on, I'll just mention that the support for this show, if I can find that information, is underwritten by the Grail Movie House, Asheville's alternative cinema. The Grail Movie House is an independent, locally owned, 3-screen cinema located in downtown Asheville. For current features, visit the Grail website at grailmoviehouse.com or the Grail's social media pages. In addition, I'll just mention 2 other upcoming shows happening in the Asheville area, and they are Brilliant Traces at 35 Below. I had the pleasure of seeing it. Really good show. It's running through this weekend, and for more information, that's at ashevilletheater.org. You can also see Virtually in Love, a romantic comedy written and directed by a friend of mine, Brad Owen. That'll be January 31st to February 9th at Brevard Little Theater, and that'll be, for more information, you can go to brevardlittletheater.org. It's next my pleasure to introduce my second guest of the Blaine's World Show this week. And they are, I won't say regulars, but semi-regulars. Katie, I think you've been on 17 times.
At least 3.
At least 3. And Jim's been on at least 2.
I don't know,
maybe,
50, 60 times,
but
something
who
like
counts? And 2 of the really cool people in the Asheville area, Katie Jones, director, performer, and a whole bunch of other kinds of things with the Magnetic Theater and also the Asheville Fringe Festival. Jim Julien's artist, puppeteer, director at the Asheville Fringe Festival, and you can wave to many fans and friends on Facebook.
Hello.
Okay, and I believe we are actually on, which is a good sign. Jim, we're going to have to try to move you a little bit because you're blocked by Katie's mic, I think.
Okay.
So maybe move over this way, or we'll try both ways, so again everybody can see your smiley face. We're still blocked by it, but we'll play with that. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm really excited to have you guys on board because perfect timing is that the Asheville Fringe Festival is coming up. Is that correct?
Yeah, it
it's,
is.
It's not only coming up. It is this week.
It's going on as we speak.
As we, so you got to leave here and get working on the Asheville Fringe Festival. What's the idea behind the Asheville Fringe Festival, Katie or Jim? Yeah, who started it? Or you were almost from the beginning, right?
Yeah. I'd 18 years ago, I was one of the performers in the very first one, and have been involved ever since as organizer and director and that sort of thing. Really the idea that started with, and it was Susan and Giles Collard of the Asheville Contemporary Dance Theater, the operators of the BB Theater. They had attended a fringe festival in Toronto and also one in San Francisco, and they came back here and said, this is what our artistic community needs, an opportunity to have folks that create new work and try out things and maybe collaborate. And so they kind of started it. And then we discovered that there's a whole network of folks that do fringe festivals all around the world, and we got kind of connected with it. So it became kind of a phenomenon. And now we have artists that have been parts of other fringe festivals, have been coming to us, and then we've had folks, local folks that have created work and then gone to other festivals. So it's a very kind of large network of performance that we've kind of tapped into. So.
And you do this also, I don't know what happened to my mic here, but you all do this all in 1 week?
Yes, and that's part of the excitement of the festival is you get all of this happening in one very concentrated dose, and you have a chance to see so many shows over the course of a week, and that is the festival vibe of the whole thing. So.
And one of the cool things about it too, Jim, is that I understand, especially for this year, you've taken care of the weather as well.
Oh yes, yeah. We made a deal with the weather, and it's perfect. So.
And so during 1 week, if people come to Asheville or they're in the Asheville area, they can't obviously see everything. But how many different things are happening in that 1 week, approximately?
I think we have something like 40 different shows. Something.
We have 46 individual artists
Yeah.
and 71 events throughout
Yeah.
the festival.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to see. And we kind of worked it out that with after parties and random acts of fringe aside, one person could, in theory, see 14 ticketed shows, which is quite a lot in 1 week.
I was going to ask you, now, based on at least last year and the past, what's the most anybody has ever gotten to see?
Oh, we have people who go to see
Oh, they
like
do.
12, 13
They-
shows easy.
Yeah.
We have freak pass holders, and those passes sort of entitle you to go to everything that you want to go to.
And we should mention, too, which is so great about the Fringe, and especially for somebody like me, that they don't necessarily see, they're not going to see 3-hour dramas. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah, yeah. Usually the format is roughly within a 1 hour. We have these kind of 1 hour long full pieces, one act plays or performances, and then we have kind of combinations where we've taken 2 30-minute pieces, put it, and then we have some shows that have a lot of shorter pieces, like 5-10 minute dance and music and that sort of thing. So these kind of combo things. So, but most of the ticketed performances are roughly within that 1 hour, and then you can go on to the next hour, and the next hour. So.
You're right, because most of the venues, they can go stay in one, and then they have a second show
Yeah,
at the same
yeah,
venue.
yeah, yeah.
What's the most, Katie, number of shows at any one venue?
Most venues will just have 4 shows, I think is the most. And that's definitely true this year.
Because I know Magnetic Theater, of course, is one of the venues, right?
It is.
And some of the times you can possibly see 4 different shows at Magnetic.
Yes, this year we have 3 shows at Magnetic, and then we have 1 show upstairs at the Girl and Goblin, which is a new sort of tattoo shop and oddities gallery, and so one of the shows is taking place up there.
Is that at Magnetic, above Magnetic?
It's above Magnetic.
Oh, I've never been
yeah,
there.
yeah, it's very cool and weird.
How many people can that seat?
Oh, I think that they can have 40 feet.
Oh, really?
People
Yeah.
up there, yeah.
Oh, I've never been there. I'll have to
Yeah.
check it out, too. When people want to get into this, talk a little bit about the process, that you invite people to submit their ideas into Fringe. How many people submit ideas?
This year we had roughly about 120, maybe a little over 120 artists, individual artists as well as groups apply, and which was a process that we kind of curated. We call adjudication, that we kind of worked through to fit the artists to the venues and the slots. But it was a painful process to get there because there was so much work that was submitted. And it really was a difficult process for our committee to kind of work through that. So
I was going to say both. I mean, it's great for you that you have a lot of people to draw from.
Yeah.
But wow, it must be a challenge to have to tell people. First of all, it must be exciting for some performers to be in it.
Yeah.
But to not be in it must be a tough thing.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tell
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Or I guess that's what they invented next year.
Yeah, and we often tell folks, that wasn't this year that was going to happen, but definitely apply again, because the work was strong and it did. We had too many competing things for one slot. So,
Well, what's very exciting, at least for me, is to see something and then to have it grow. And I know, and Katie, you can talk a little bit about it, but one of my favorite performances at Fringe was Rodney Smith's thing. Was it dinner at 6?
It's table 6.
Table 6.
Yeah.
And wow, was that a surprise? And I don't know if, Jim, you ever saw the performance or you
Yes,
were
yeah.
able to. But he had it, what was it, Mothlight or
Yeah,
some
Mothlight,
place.
yeah.
It was packed, and it was a really good show put together, a tremendous cast. Then it had legs. Do you find that in any other stuff that somebody performs it for the first time at Fringe, and that goes on to other stuff?
Yeah. Actually, we had the experience last year of Judy Calabrese.
Oh, right,
That it didn't happen, and she's taken that, and it sounds like she may have opportunities for touring, outside of Asheville, and so I mean that's always our dream, is that a work premieres and then it kind of gets legs and then it starts to go and goes to out into the world. So.
Well, that's a great example, because that was a thing started at Fringe, and it's, I guess you try to keep it a tight time commitment.
Yeah.
But I think also one of our other guests earlier, Tasha, was in that
Yes, she
as
was.
well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I know it's been performed elsewhere, and that's very exciting when that happens. Has that happened any other thing? that you know of?
Actually, we do have this year Cooper Bates, who is an artist from Los Angeles. He performed a show last year called Black When I Was a Boy, and it was in that hour time slot, and he is bringing a full-length version of it to Magnetic this summer
Oh, really?
in
Great.
July as part of our main stage season. So
Okay, so look forward to seeing it. But what's really great about that, too, so when you performed at Fringe, it was a shorter version, too, and that's going to grow?
Yes.
Is that the idea on it, too? Katie, how do you get involved in Fringe? You've been in this area for how long?
just 3.5 years.
Okay, and made kind of an impact in that 3.5 years.
Very much.
You're another person I just asked my other guest, Tasha Pepi, who I wonder, do you also have roller skates? I mean, I can't believe, Jim, I know Katie a little bit better than you, that you do so many things that you do. You go from one thing to the other, but the incredible thing, she does it all well.
Yes, yes.
So how did you get involved in Fringe?
Well, I was working on a production at Magnetic called When Jekyll Met Hyde. I was doing
remember,
props.
right.
And I ran into Jocelyn and Jim for that because, I was trying to make an old-timey newspaper. And I was like, listen, I don't know how to do this. And the director of that show said, you should talk to Jim Julien. So I ended up meeting Jim, and then I met Jocelyn by proxy. And Jocelyn and I went to dinner and drinks, and then she was like, you want to work on the Fringe, don't you? And then I was sucked in. So that's kind of how that happened.
And that was about 3.5 years ago?
Yeah, this is actually my fourth Fringe. So my first year, I was a venue director at Magnetic. And then the next year, Jocelyn and Jim were like, well, would you like a bigger role in the organization? And I just said, yes, I do. I would like that. So.
And you're also doing that, again, quote, in your spare time when you're also involved with Magnetic Theater just a little bit.
Yes.
and that's just, so your title at Magnetic is what?
I'm the artistic director of Magnetic now.
But not only, Jim, is she artistic director at Magnetic, she also directs plays there. She also acts in plays, and keeps you busy.
It does, yes.
Do you have a favorite thing of all the stuff you do? Do you have a favorite thing that you like doing?
Oh, man, it's really hard. But I suppose if I had to just pick, I would pick performing.
Because I don't think I've had the pleasure yet of seeing you as a performer. I've seen you as director.
Yes.
But never performed. But that's funny, Jim, because I'll ask you the same question in a second. But a lot of performers / actors say they prefer directing, to acting. I guess you have to memorize. No, that's not the
It is a
reason.
different kind of work for
Right.
sure. But I'm really excited because this year I'm going to be in Santa Claus Conquers the Martians at Magnetic, which Rodney Smith is directing and writing as well. And so it'll be a fun chance to actually just be an actor and be on stage.
And to me, something serious, dramatic role,
I'm a Martian. I'm the laziest Martian there's ever been.
Oh, you already know your role.
I do, yeah.
Oh, it's something to look forward to. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And Jim, same question. You're another guy. It just kind of amazes me. He does about 27 different things, and sort of simultaneously. Is that ever a challenge for you that you're working on one thing and then you're moving into you're doing a whole bunch of other things?
Yes, it is challenging, but I'm by nature just a really curious person, so I'm always interested in a lot of different things simultaneously. So it kind of makes sense with my life and lifestyle and mental capacities or whatever. But I really enjoy just the breadth of activities and of course Asheville being a really interesting performing community to be involved with. So
Both of you remind me a little bit of my friend Jeff Messer, who talks about, and it seems to describe you folks to a T, that he sees a life, I guess, as a cook in front of 10 burners on a stove. And he's working on 9 things, at once, and the 10th is always available for something new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they come along, and that's what seemed, Katie, when I look at you in terms of what happened since you've been in Asheville, sort of going from props to all of a sudden then becoming artistic director at this, to all of a sudden becoming involved in Fringe, and just you seem to just pick up different kinds of things as they develop.
It's kind of like people will just say, "Hey, are you interested in this?" And I found that by saying yes, it just sort of all falls out after that. So it's really about just leaving yourself available and open for the opportunity to be there.
Well, you raise a good point, and I have a similar attitude, Jim, that I'll say to people the answer is yes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't do it, let's look at other ways to do it, or let's figure out, as you said, other places to do it at. How'd you come up, Jim, with all the venues for Fringe Festival?
Well, 18 years ago, we started out with the BB Theater, and then the next year after that, we had, again, so many artists that were interested in being involved that we approached, actually it was NC Stage for the second year, and then each year we kind of added a venue for us. And we've tried to find venues that offer a variety of different kind of setups, like more traditional theater, or it's a music club, and then of course when we added the Lezoom bus as kind of our mobile venue, that totally changed what the festival was, and it just became a city-wide kind of thing, as opposed to just a few theaters or clubs downtown. Suddenly the whole city is open for performance, so it definitely changed it. But we've added, we've had some venues that were with us, and then they couldn't do it anymore. It was too small to operate with those. But like this year, we've added the Wortham Center, the little Tina McGuire
right.
Theater, and we have a couple of shows there, and that's kind of a new thing for us. So we're very excited about those shows. So.
And what's kind of cool about it is that, like you said, you're always looking at different venues,
Mm-hmm.
or some, and I'm really anxious to see the place above your place that you would never think of as a venue. You know, that it's upstairs at a tattoo parlor.
Is a tattoo parlor. We've also got shows in a record store. We got shows at Downtown Books and News. Fringe is something that can happen anywhere. And I will say that before coming to Asheville, I participated in several different fringes around the country. And our fringe is one of the fringiest because we have so many different site-specific venues that are not traditional theaters. And so I think for audiences in Asheville, it's something really different.
And one of the nice things, too, I think, Jim, you've done with Fringe, and I know you've done in the past, is there is a fee to some of the events, or a lot of the events, but some of the events are open to the public at no charge, for example.
Actually tonight we have a free Fringe event that's happening at 10 o'clock at the LT Laundromat. We have a performance. It's happening. It's Solidago. That Anya Hamilton and a musician are doing a performance piece in this laundromat. It's free to the public, and in fact, Anya said you can bring laundry if you want to run some laundry while they're performing. That's totally allowed. So.
That is a classic, though. Because Fringe officially opens tomorrow, is it, or it's open?
Well, we officially opened it on Sunday. We kind of had a kickoff party, and we honored Martin Luther King Day and all that sort of thing on Monday, but then we've kind of had, last night we had a little performance at Zapow Gallery down in the South Slope area, and we have events kind of happening after parties every night, along with the ticketed shows. So, and we have several free things that are happening, some performances and that sort of thing happening in the course of the weekend as well. So it's very mixed in terms of ticketed and free things. So,
let's talk a little bit about some of the events, and I guess it's easy. We can start at Magnetic, just because Katie spends a little time at Magnetic. I would say there. Do you have also a cot in there somewhere?
Yes, I might as well at some point. But
well, you're laughing because I kid, and Katie knows me a little bit, Jim. But I love like matinees, and that's why I love Fringe, because as you get older, I like afternoon stuff, but I also love short stuff. So that's one of the things at Fringe. But at Fringe this year, for example, at Magnetic, what are some of the things happening?
At Magnetic, we have 3 different shows. We have Spanko, which is a Tex-Mex commedia musical.
I love that.
It's Skylar Goff is the sort of director, creator of it, and it's got an ensemble cast. It should be delightfully raunchy. Everyone's wearing commedia masks. And he's blending the 2 forms of commedia and that sort of Tex-Mex.
And I guess on that, Jim, back to your earlier point, you're not going to find anything like that, excepting maybe at Fringe.
Yeah,
you know?
no. I when Spanko was proposed to us, it was like, yes, that seems so right. We had to have that. So,
And I guess the challenge in terms of that show or others is to keep it within that short framework, you know, because I guess that could lend itself to a fuller performance.
Oh, it definitely could, and they've been working so hard on it. I'm very, very excited to see it. And we've got 2 other shows happening at Magnetic, one of which is Lupita's Revenge, which is a group from Athens, Georgia, that is doing a shadow puppet show with live music. It's going to be absolutely beautiful. And then we have La Gaviota Teatro doing their show Oribuku, and they're actually coming to us from Mexico. So we're thrilled to have them here.
So it's not just Asheville folks in this, Jim. You have people from all over.
yes, yeah, we have artists from Los Angeles, New York, Mexico City, and yeah, it's a pretty wide swath of folks that show up at our festivals.
Has that always been the case?
It started a few years ago. We joined the U.S. Association of Fringe Festivals, so there's kind of a network of festivals, and by the incredibly well thought out process of alphabetical festivals, we're at the top of the list after right before Atlanta. So so when artists are looking, going, well, gee, I'd like to be in a Fringe festival, they go to this USAF page, and there we are at the top of the page. So
in some respects, I think it's great to have it in January, aside from the weather factor, because Asheville Theater I love, but from late December to March, you have like nothing, and then all of a sudden it picks up. Even though all of a sudden that's changing a little bit, because it used to be nobody would do stuff in January and February. Now all of a sudden you're starting to see stuff happening in January and February.
And we'd like to take credit for that we made that happen.
You were the first. One of the cool things too about the Fringe is that several of the venues you can have food as well. They tie into food. I know your place, Magnetic, you have drinks and some snacks.
And yes, and actually, it's interesting with our Fringe this year because some of the venues have concessions, but we also have several shows this year that incorporate food into the performance, and so it's been kind of an interesting theme that has accidentally developed through our adjudication process. So lots of ways to get fed at Fringe.
Now, hopefully in the adjudication process, do people bring food in as well,
Oh, we snack through that.
To influence the judges, though, hey.
And I made you these. No one actually has tried to bribe us with cookies just yet.
Although they should consider that.
They should. I would accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I cut you off. You had a third show. Did you mention the third show?
I did. I said everything that's happening at Magnetic, and I did want to talk about these food shows though, because we have several coming up. One is the Dinner Bell, which is by this group called Taproot Charlotte. And they are a group of girls who are exploring Southern femininity through dance and food. So that's a group, and all the food for that's being provided by Early Girl Eatery, which is really exciting.
Nice. So now, for the performers, will people in the who see it get food as well?
They do for that one, yes.
Oh, I have to make a note of that. Get to this one.
Yeah.
Cheap night out.
Exactly.
See the show, get food.
And then we've also got Lauren French, who's an artist from Greenville, South Carolina, who is doing a show called An Intimate Dinner. That one's going to be at Downtown Books and News. And for that one, I don't think anyone gets to eat, but you do help her on her cooking show that she's hosting.
And even talk about that as a venue. I mean, how cool is that to have a bookstore, to have a performance?
Oh yeah.
Is that the first time you've used Downtown?
No. We've been using Downtown Books and News for quite a while. Usually we have smaller shows there, one person things, that sort of thing, and that kind of came out because they had a series of poets and writers reading their work, and we saw this little stage, and we go, well, that could be a Fringe venue, and the Julian Voris, the owner. The manager of Downtown Books and News was so on board with letting us come in and putting on shows. So.
What's the most number of people who have seen a Fringe event?
I mean, sometimes we've literally packed out the Mothlight to like capacity, so I won't say a number, but it was high.
Yeah,
And yeah, those are some of our highest attended things I think in the past. So Mothlight, Magnetic, we've had full houses at both places. So
Okay, that must be really exciting, you know, when the place is full
Yeah,
and really into it. We have a couple more minutes. Just let me hear some of the other kinds of things that people can look forward to seeing this year.
Well, I think one of the things that we're excited about, and particularly using the Wortham Center, is we have there's a puppeteer here in town, Keith Schubert of Toy Box Theater. He usually every year creates a new show just for Fringe that kind of runs the gamut of kind of adult puppetry that kind of have adult themes. This year, it's a little more all ages kind of family piece that he's doing, and I want to make sure I get the name right. The Miraculously Inventive Machine of Charlie Mean. And it's basically kind of I think a story about a young man who's being bullied, and he uses a machine to help kind of solve the problem. So, yeah.
If people go to the website, and actually we should mention the website for this is, Katie, what?
it's just AshevilleFringe.org.
Okay.
Yes.
When people go there, they'll see the whole program, they'll see the descriptions of it. Does it have ratings or suggested ratings, as you mentioned, for a puppet show? Will people, if they bring...
We do mention whether a show is family friendly, and most of the time our shows are not. So, so if it has family friendly on it, you know it's good for everybody. And if not, you should sort of know that everybody should be at least a teenager.
Well, you know, it's funny you mention that, Katie, because that's one of the controversies, I think, not only in Asheville, but other places. You know, should you list the rating of a show? Should you talk about what it's about? And some people say, well, you can look it up online. But I think it's helpful if you tell people it is family friendly, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I do want to make sure we get in this other show that's happening at the Wortham Center as well, which is Uhas and Dancers are a group from Charleston, and their show is called Radical Softness. And they are girls who are all different sizes, shapes, races, and ages, and it's really cool because sometimes dance can get pigeonholed into only being for a certain type of person, and so they're kind of fighting against that, and their work is excellent.
Because didn't I read somewhere, Jim, initially that it started out as dance-based, or a lot of it was dance-based, the Fringe one first started?
And that was partly because of Susan and Giles and their dance company being so interested in kind of contemporary dance and performance and that. So we've always had dance as a heavy component of our festival, just because they knew dancers, they wanted to come here, they wanted to perform. So you know, I want to say we usually have at least 3 or 4 dance productions every festival. So
The thing is, it's gone way beyond dance. It seems there's almost whatever your interest is, you're going to find something of interest to you. What's the best way to scope it out? Go to the website?
Yeah. And we have these lovely guides around town that have a lot of information on them.
Yes, there is Asheville Fringe Festival, and I do want one, because I don't have to plan out, you know, my...
exactly.
But I better get tickets. Some of them tickets are going pretty fast, you would say?
I would say definitely. And the other thing we try to tell people is if you can, try to see at least 3 shows, because you get a better sense of the festival if you see a couple different things than if you just go to see one show. Just because you get that festival spirit.
Yeah.
Well, the one I'm looking forward to do, too, is Monsters Under the Bed with Lau. You know, it's just going to be kind of exciting. That's one of the events you mentioned, that there are 2 things happening. So you see Lau, you'll see another show, and that's going to be coming up. That's at the, I don't know, it's Slag.
It's at the Slag Rock Lounge, which is over on Haywood, and they're actually performing with the Cardboard Sea, which are doing their show Centrifuge, and it's going to be a pretty neat pairing between the 2.
And so, just to wrap up, if any folks want to find out more about the Fringe or come to it, best bet to start at the website.
They can also come see us at Fringe Central, which is at the Zoom Room on Biltmore. And so we'll have Fringe staff there every day from noon to 6 and are able to talk to you about different shows, sell tickets, that kind of thing.
And maybe personally introduce you to the artist.
Super. And the website is, again?
AshevilleFringe.org.
Okay, I'd like to thank you both, Jim Julien and Katie Jones, for being my guests the second half hour on the BLAINESWORLD show. As always, have me looking forward to the Fringe Festival. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also like to thank Amy Prisnash, my producer, and Zuzu Welsh, who provided the music you heard at the beginning of the show, and they'll be hearing at the end. Hope to see you next Wednesday here on WPVM.
Listen to the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. 103.7 on your dial, and globally at WPVMFM.org.
In China had been infected.